I'll hear your take. But let's talk about being a moral human being.
All right. All right. For Judging Judy. All right.
Hello, this is the Judging Judy podcast. And before we jump into this week's episode, I just want to continue my long-running, one-sided feud with that other podcast, Smartless. Now, some are saying that this is a lot like the 90s East Coast, West Coast hip-hop feud that got super violent, but here's the thing. I'm pretty sure both me and the Smartless guys are both on the West Coast, so I don't think that really applies. Here's my beef with Smartless this week. Will Arnett's ads. First it was Reese's, now it's Ford's, and they both sound the same. I don't know if I should eat it or drive it. I don't know if it's got peanut butter or horsepower. Will, come on. If you need the money, if you really need the money, just reach out to me and ask. You know I always say that to you, Will. You don't gotta do this. You don't gotta keep shilling for candy or cars or I don't know, a cell phone plan. All right, that's enough feuding for this week. For those of you new to this show, here's how it works. Each week we take an episode out of the Judge Judy archives. I set the scene by reminding you what was going on in the world when the episode first aired. Then I do a play-by-play of the cases. Finally, I judge Judy. Innocent if she did her job that day, guilty if she didn't. And there's also a game of hangman at the end too. That was ample preambling. Let's hop into today's episode. Now, I've got 2 dates for when this first aired, so it's, a little inconclusive, but I'm gonna go with the one I feel slightly more confident about, Monday, March 22nd, 1999. You may or may not remember it, depending on how bad your particular case of the Mondays was on that date. To help jog your memory, I'm gonna call my friend Professor Wikipedia. All right, not going to talk about that one or that. They happened on March 22nd, 1999, but not going to talk about them. Ooh, okay. Roller Coaster Tycoon was first released. And since then, untold billions of digital park guests have been brutally murdered while waiting in line for rides, or by being launched into a wall, or into a lake, or into the ground, or King Abdullah II's wife, Queen Reina, began her reign as Queen of Jordan. Gordon Ramsay, the TV man in the white shirt who yells a lot, opened a restaurant named Petrus, which is still open today. There you can sample dishes such as Violina pumpkin, Cornish brill, and other things that sound like brass. Excellent work today, Professor Wikipedia. I don't care what they say about you and your glass-blowing studies. All right, let's check in on baseball transactions from March 22nd, 1999.
All right, you do the pitching and I'll do the hitting.
Jonathan Guzman was traded from the Royals to the Mets in exchange for Shane Halter. The Marlins optioned Ryan Dempster to AAA, and the Pirates assigned Todd Van Poppel to minor league camp. Whew, that was fun. That was almost more exciting than an actual baseball game. Finally, let's look at the box office from 3/22/1999. Our top 3 movies from first to third were 8mm, Patch Adams, and Saving Private Ryan. Now, should I talk about the movie about snuff movies? The movie about a pretend doctor whose unorthodox methods both heal and damage his patients? Or the movie with Vin Diesel in it? That's right. Coming in the credits after Tom Hanks, Tom Sizemore, Edward Burns, Barry Pepper, and Adam Goldberg, but before Giovanni Ribisi, Jeremy Davies, and stunner Matt Damon, is Vin Diesel as Private Caparzo, Private Caparzo. Or whatever else I said, that's fine too. You and I both wished the movie had been called Saving Private Caparzo, and for that reason, I'm going to read a select few lines from Vin Diesel as Private Caparzo in my best approximation of his voice. Out of context, of course.
You gotta pay attention to detail. I know exactly where he's from, and I know exactly what he did, 'cause I pay attention to detail. Jesus, lucky bastard. What are we gonna do? And another thing, every time you salute the captain, you make him a target for the Germans. Do us a favor, don't do it, especially when I'm standing next to him, capiche?
Cool, that's enough. Let's go to this week's episode of Judge Judy, and it's cold open.
He was willing to do anything. He wanted to date me.
And we're talking about 1999 anything, so it probably involves some steamy stuff. I'm talking about reservations at Ponderosa Steakhouse on a Saturday night. I'm talking perjury in a federal court. I'm talking about keeping your Practical Magic DVD from Blockbuster for 3, even 4 days. Who cares about the late fee? He would do anything.
I want you to tell me things that you think I'm going to believe, madam.
Wait, shouldn't you want her to tell her the truth? Not just what she thinks she's gonna... Anyway.
She felt like a new man. She felt like a new man.
I have a feeling they're not using that phrase correctly. I mean, hey, they could be, but we are talking about daytime TV in 1999. They were pretty straight-laced. I don't think you were allowed to show bare ankles on TV until 2004, and that was on the Osbourne, so it wasn't sexy so much as it was festering, moldy, kind of viridian.
I live in an $9 million turd.
I was not 100% happy.
If you weren't happy in 1999, I've got some bad news for you about the next 26 years or so. They're gonna get a little worse.
Nobody's 100% happy.
Then you never been to the Route 25 GMC Buick Lego Whirlpool Mega Center in Paramus, New Jersey, where you can't leave until you're 100% happy. I mean it. You can't leave until you start smiling. Really smiling. Okay, we're all cold opened out. Let's see what these cases are all about.
38-year-old cruise director David Peterson.
If you're looking for someone to blame for that nasty case of neurovirus you got, David Peterson's your man. Alternatively, if you'd like to talk to someone about a magical 5-day, 4-night trip from Manhattan to delightful Nassau, Bahamas, where all drinks except soda and alcohol are included, where every meal is prepared by the finest chefs willing to hand over their passports for 9-month stretches at a time, where each port of call is peppered with pickpockets and lead magnets made by slave labor and desert re-education camps, then David Peterson is also your man. David is suing his former girlfriend, Kathy, a flight attendant. He claims she owes him money. And his TV. Ack. Carnival Cruises must not have been shelling out the big bucks for David if he's got to go on Judge Judy to claw back his TV. I imagine him sitting at home on his couch at night, staring at the place where his TV used to be, left to wonder if Philip J. Fry would ever find his way back from the year 2999.
No way, pork pouch!
By the way, in case you were wondering, the plaintiff here is not former New York State Governor David Paterson, nor is he former New York comedian Pete Davidson.
My favorite rapper is Coolio.
David Peterson, remember that. Not to be outdone, Kathy is countersuing David for harassment.
According to your complaint, you met the defendant and began dating.
And not the other way around. So many of his relationships had gone south simply because he began dating them before they ever met. I mean, he'd know their names, what they look like, how to find them, but not this time. This time, meet and then date.
You claim that during the course of your relationship with the defendant, you loaned her $600 in order to move, I believe, from some sort of an abusive relationship that she was having.
I'm immediately feeling sympathy for Kathy. To go from an abusive relationship to one that ends with the both of you on Judge Judy. What I don't know is if or how the abusive relationship will start to factor into Judy's calculus. I mean, it shouldn't. It shouldn't really factor in either way, but despite appearances to the contrary, Judy is human. David says he loaned Kathy the money for the move about 2 months into their relationship. But not that kind of relationship.
We weren't dating at the time that I loaned her the $600. We were friends.
Oh, snap!
And then 3 weeks later, he says, they started dating. David explains that she called him at home. He was vacationing at the time, at home.
I was home on my vacation. I got 6 weeks vacation.
Unnecessary humble brag, but yeah, I guess when your day job is barking at wage slaves for not diluting the mango margaritas enough, all while shuttling between beautiful places like Aruba, Cozumel, and New Smyrna Beach, Florida, I guess a vacation at home is a nice break. Kathy, David says, needed the $600 for part of the security deposit for a new apartment. He says that initially she told him that she'd pay him back gradually, $100 a month, but that sort of petered off, and then she started saying that she'd pay him back as she could.
When I can, and then each month she'd have vet bills or a car problem or whatever, and just kind of, then we started dating, so I wasn't really concerned about it.
I imagine that they once thought they might tell their grandkids the story of how they first got together. Her dog had roundworm. She needed new brake pads for her Suzuki Grand Vitara, and he was back on shore after 2 weeks of hitting on spring breakers who thought he looked just like the accountant their dad just fired. Once they started dating, David gradually became less concerned with the $600. Except I think he's lying. I think he thought about it all the time. I think that $600 bore a hole in his soul as big and wide and as full of raw sewage as the Royal Caribbean Wonder of the Seas. Which leads us to the TV, the number 2 thing on the list of things that kept David up at night. Excluding ways to make sure that stories about people dying on your ships don't make the news. David was staying with Kathy during his
6 weeks vacation.
She had an old, smaller television, his words, not mine. He kind of demonstrates its size, and the way he's moving his hands, I think he's describing a subway footlong, not a small TV. I bet it was nigh impossible to get HBO on a Subway tuna melt.
I said, well, since I'm staying with you, I've been wanting to buy a new TV, and it was on sale. Said, I'll put it in your apartment.
The fact that he pointed out that the TV was on sale increases my confidence that the $600 absolutely haunted this guy all throughout the relationship. After spending his
6 weeks vacation
with her, he went back to sea for 4 months. 4 months. That's roughly 11,593 conga lines that David spent away from his new TV. Oh, and Kathy, his girlfriend, the one who owed him $600. I've been ragging almost exclusively on David, perhaps unfairly, but what was Kathy doing this whole time during David's
6 weeks vacation?
Didn't flights need attending?
Was exactly what that plane needed.
Because we're still dating and talking about getting married and that type of thing.
Getting married? Buy one clearance price Panasonic together, and now we've got wedding bells? Imagine if they had bought a full price TV. She'd be giving him a kidney. Their relationship lasted another 2.5 months once he got off the cruise ship. All the while, I assume, he was calculating the interest owed to him for that $600, most likely at a carnivorous 15.3% compound interest rate.
Then when she ended the relationship, I asked for the $600 my television back, and she said, you gave those to me.
This is just like that group of retirees from Boca Raton at the buffet. They just take and take and take until there's nothing left. No ham, no turkey, no discount TV, nothing.
Okay, the $600. First of all, he was willing to get me out of the relationship that I was in and would do anything.
The way Kathy says this makes me a little bit uncomfortable. It makes it sound like he was buying her. Maybe that's how she felt.
He wanted to date me, and if I was out of that apartment, then it would free me up.
Nothing she's saying is making the relationship sound any less gross.
It is a gateway to hell.
Kathy says that David, in his desire to get her free, even offered to pay her rent for the new apartment. She said no to that, but she said that he could pay for part of the security deposit. Judy takes umbrage with the fact that Kathy didn't have the full amount for the deposit herself in hand.
I want you to tell me things that you think I'm going to believe, madam.
On a scale of 1 to 10, you are an 11.
A lot of times, something's in the cold open, but you don't really get a full understanding of it until you hear it again, in context, in the episode. Not this time. This line actually makes less sense with context. Unless Judy's questioning Kathy's whole side of things thus far, but what would not having the full security deposit herself have to do with that? I'm not trying to play the fool here.
Everybody plays the fool.
Not me, not this time. I am legitimately confused.
You didn't move out because you were just being a nice person to him because he wanted to date you.
No, she moved out because she was in an abusive relationship, right? Even David said that. That's what he opened with.
You moved out because you were unhappy in your former relationship.
Because it was abusive. She wasn't unhappy because she thought she was one Mediterranean Avenue away from winning McDonald's Monopoly and getting $100,000.
Monopoly is not going to get me through this night.
I was not 100% happy, but I did.
Nobody's 100% happy.
Especially people in abusive relationships. What am I not getting here?
But I did meet Mr. Peterson, and he was that extra push, encouraged me to move out of the relationship that I was in.
Madam.
Yes. Say madame just after you say, oh, please, and say sir while you're kicking them in the shins. You've got to raise them up while you knock them down, these idiots.
I did not ask. I mentioned that I was going to need to get a new television for my apartment. I did not ask him for one. He said, don't worry about it. I will get you one. And I said, okay, if you would like to. I assumed it would be a housewarming gift.
She says that they went to the store together. I wish we could know what store. Circuit City? The Wiz? H.H. Gregg? It can't still exist, right? History is littered with the shells of stores that David bought television sets as pseudo-housewarming gifts from.
Nobody beats the Wiz. Nobody beats the Wiz.
And he gave it to me, along with many other gifts.
I wonder how many of the other gifts, robes, coasters, beer steins, had conspicuously, hastily, barely removed Royal Caribbean tags or logos on them.
So tell me what kind of other gifts he gave you.
Is that jealousy in your voice, Judy? Are you wondering why this complete stranger never gave you any gifts? I mean, let's hear all the things that Kathy gets. She gets a bike, purses.
Purses? You mean pocketbooks, ladies, handbags?
Right.
I hope that Judy does this for everything. A bike? You mean a velocipede. Shoes? You mean foot keepers. Kathy goes through a long and boring list of things she got from David. We get it. 6-week Dave had a Discover card. Big deal.
I'm sure you'll all be very impressed.
Gave me things that he took off of the cruise ship.
I was right. I called it. I wonder if he took the big wheel the captain uses to move the ship around too.
Whatever, he gave you a lot of things.
Right.
I was right again. Judy is jealous. Where are her handbags? Where's her 2-wheeled manual automobile? Where's her Princess Cruises bath mat? Kathy was not exclusively a taker. She paid $200 for a first-class plane ticket so that the two of them could take a trip together. Kathy flexing those flight attendant superpowers, huh? And I think Judy is questioning why she never dated a flight attendant or a cruise director. Do you think David ever introduced himself to a new acquaintance as a cruise director and had to quickly specify that it wasn't Penelope or Tom, but a big boat with vats of powdered eggs? Kathy struggles a little bit to name other things that she got David, eliciting Judy's dead-on impression of a cranky parrot.
Like what?
Judy isn't impressed by the CD player or the electric toothbrush that Kathy got David. She demands to know what Kathy got him for Christmas. And I guess while 9 out of 10 dentists agree that an electric toothbrush is a good idea, he did outspend her with his gift.
Just a second, he paid your rent. And how much was your rent? Shh. How much was your rent?
Kathy's rent? $775, or about $1,500 today. It might seem like that's a lot compared to, $40 or $50 for an electric toothbrush, but imagine how much he would have been in the hole without that toothbrush. Do you know how much a root canal costs? More than $775 or $1,500. Frankly, he owes her. I bet his breath smells better too, and you can't put a price on that. In a move that oddly makes me like both the plaintiff and the defendant, he also got her this at Christmas.
Let's see. A cat treat cookie jar that meowed.
Judy feels that David may be telling the truth about the $600 and the TV not being meant as gifts because he's not asking for anything but them back. Sure, okay, but what use would he have for the other things? I don't think he could use her bike. I don't think he'd use her purses or ladies' handbags. He can use the TV and he can use the money. After confirming that it was Kathy who ended things with David, Judy returns to the relationship that predated her time with him.
You weren't happy with the relationship before his, so you wanted to move out?
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
We're going the wrong way.
In what sounds strikingly like a ransom video, Kathy says that David said on tape that the $600 was a gift.
He did state, I have a cassette tape of him, and he did make this for me, stating that the $600 was a gift.
However, we'll have to wait until after the commercial break to see if they show us the video, and if so, whether David was blindfolded and tied to a chair during its filming.
I'll hear you tape. But let's talk about being a moral human being.
Come on, let's talk about
being a moral human being.
baby. Let's talk about
being a moral human being.
Imagine how the world would have been different if this is what bands heard when they tried to get record deals. Well, I'll hear your tape, Mr. Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope, but first let's talk about being moral human beings, or moral insane clown posses, if you will.
You dumped the guy because you met somebody else. He's been very generous. No.
She can end the relationship for whatever reason she wants, Judy, no matter how many cat treat cookie jars he's given her.
That I don't want somebody else to be watching, the new guy to be watching the Super Bowl on a TV that I bought.
Yeah, but ex-boyfriends don't want a lot of things to happen, right? If we abided by all the wishes of every ex-boyfriend everywhere, we'd have something that looks eerily like the modern Republican Party.
What's up?
I want those two things back. And if you were a nice person, you would have said, absolutely.
Nice? When did nice enter the conversation? Judy opened by saying that she wanted to talk about being a moral person. Now she's conflating morality with niceness. There's lots we can squabble over for both of those words, moral and nice. Was David being moral when he gave her the money to begin with? Was that a moral action, or was he hoping that they'd start dating once she had her own place? Because if it's the latter, that doesn't sound very moral or nice. Certainly not to her then boyfriend. The gifts he gave her, were they out of niceness or morality, or was he hoping that they would tie her to him? Is he nice because he didn't want a woman's bike or a purse back? Is Judy nice when she keeps conveniently forgetting the details of Kathy's previous relationship? I'm not implying that either David or Kathy was immoral or moral, that they were nice or not nice, but I am implying that it's not nearly as clear-cut as Judy is suggesting.
Because you say, oh, this caused you a great deal of stress.
Judy says stressed in the way that certain people like to say someone is depressed or suffering from an eating disorder, like it's an option or a choice, no more serious than choosing between one pair of socks or another. Maybe it's generational, the tone of voice and the dismissiveness. Maybe it's cultural, but it's not nice. Turns out we are fortunate enough to hear the tape that Kathy says David made for her saying that the $600 was a gift. It was weird enough when I thought it was a video cassette, but he made a mixtape. I imagine him saying, "Hey Kathy, I know you just got off that red eye and I just got back from 6 months of doing the hokey pokey with the silent generation, but I just want to give you this tape. No, it's not another Van Morrison album. I'm still waiting for you to tell me what you thought of the last one. He's so much more than Brown Eyed Girl. No, just listen to this one and let me know what you think."
Play the tape.
I don't understand this tape. I don't understand it at all. His voice is very clear. I don't think it's like an answering machine. Did he use a talk boy? And I don't know who he's talking to. Who's this addressed to? I've got to figure out how much of this to use. They included about a minute of this guy's sad confessions. I don't have it in me to include it all because then I'd have to listen to the whole sad thing again and that might kill me. And that would be a very embarrassing cause of death. But I've got to include some of it, even if it might kill you, the listener, so that you have an idea of what this guy was thinking when he recorded this in the presidential suite of the Emerald Princess.
I can't believe you give her money, She's still living with another guy. I really love her, and therefore, that's why I would do something like that. But yet, for me to go to my bank and just suck out $600 and go, here you go. But I do it for you and don't ask for anything in return because my heart belongs to you and I love you.
It gives me so much secondhand agita. Even if I had an inkling that this tape would be played on national TV, there's no way I'd bring her to fake court. It doesn't matter how surround the sound is or how much plasma the TV's got in it. Keep the money. Keep the TV. Watch the Super Bowl with whoever you want. Just don't play the tape.
Right. When did you make this?
An equally valid question would have been, how many minibar vodkas had you blasted through before you made this? Apparently, David used to make tapes like these while he was out at sea, as it was hard to stay in contact with Kathy. In a lot of ways, that's touching, and I feel bad for him that this was aired on national TV. But did he really have to go on Judge Judy? Was it worth it?
Of course not.
David says that despite his declaration in the tape that she didn't owe him the $600 back, he has a letter from her saying she would reimburse him. Letters and tapes and semaphore, it seems remarkably difficult to date if you're a cruise director. I can't imagine the
6 weeks vacation
makes up for the 6 months you spend lip-syncing along to the YMCA 3 times a week.
Okay, you say you're going to give him back the money. You say I'm going to give you back the money.
There it is. Times New Roman, 12-point font. It doesn't look double-spaced or justified, and gosh, she didn't even use an indent on her paragraphs. But no, I'm getting distracted here by the finer details. There it is, hot off the presses from Microsoft Word 95. Clippy would approve, and if it's good enough for Clippy, it's good enough for me. Unless...
Because after he had harassed me, I would give it to him because I wanted him to stop harassing me.
Judy begrudgingly opens the floor for Kathy to detail the harassment, and... to be honest, it's a little flimsy. Apparently, she couldn't make their initial small claims court date, and so he won by default. However, instead of getting everything he wanted, which was his right, he decided to sue her again. I guess that's harassment?
Let me hear what... Wait, just a second. Let me understand what this lady is complaining about.
That sounds like the rejected title for a Disney princess song. It also sounds like a way for you to tell me that you're not going to listen to me without telling me you're not going to listen to me.
Just a second. That's what you're complaining about.
Kelly's next instance of harassment from David occurred after their rescheduled court date. She says that David offered to drop the case so that she wouldn't hate him forever. She agreed, so long as it was really, truly dropped forever. She even offered that they go to breakfast the next day so that they might start anew as friends.
So I thought, I was trying to be a nice person throughout the whole relationship and try to be, a loving, loyal, caring boyfriend. So she said, I'll take you to breakfast. We'll try and work something out.
David already won this case, but if he hadn't, this sealed the deal. The nice person bit, all he's doing is spitting back Judy's words like a mother sparrow might do with chunks of worm into its little baby sparrows' mouths. David's side of the story is a little different. He says that the breakfast was actually meant to be when they would work out the details of her repaying him. Except...
We talked about her new boyfriend at breakfast more than anything.
What's the best place in 1999 to have breakfast with your ex-boyfriend where you talk about your new boyfriend? And do you get waffles or pancakes? Or crepes? Leave your suggestions in the comments below. When 2 weeks went by without a follow-up call from Kathy, presumably both to finalize the repayment plan and to compare notes on the compote they had that day, David got angry and decided to take the case back to small claims court. Another commercial break? Really? They must have really been cramming in those 10-10-220 ads back in the day. At the very least, they reward us with a preview of Case 2 before the break.
Today,
You loaned him $2,500 and he wanted to start a karaoke business.
I made the joke about 10-10-220, but do you wonder what was actually paying for the bills back in 1999 for Judy here? I'll give you a hint. It hasn't aged well.
I've lost 80 pounds and now I'm keeping it off.
The ad copy says that this garbage is available at capital B, better, capital R retailers. You're telling me I can't get this strangely unbranded, absolutely definitely not either a laxative, a diuretic, a sugar pill, or a poison at any old retailer? I gotta go to one of them better ones, or one of them ones with a floor made of hard shiny rock, or where they hang them orbs in the sky that defy God's will by pretending to be the sun, God's only child? Well, I never.
At this point, he was harassing me so much, I felt I needed to follow a restraining order against him.
Kathy claims that David was calling and leaving harassing messages daily. Although presumably not when he was at sea, otherwise he wouldn't have been able to call and would have been forced to record tapes of harassment to send to her instead.
No, saying what? Where are the messages?
Kathy doesn't really get down to what the messages said, other than that he wanted his money back. David, ever a fan of the Postal Service, went so far as to start sending letters to Kathy's parents too. That's kind of harassing. I'm not a legal expert by any means. Despite all the terms and conditions that I've absolutely read before agreeing to. But is there a line between pestering and harassing? Maybe this is it. I don't know.
Harassing me.
Why didn't you pay him the money?
I hear you, Judy, literally and figuratively. But hear me out. Is it right to give someone money just to get them to stop bothering you? If we believe her when she says that she didn't think that he meant for her to pay the money back, or, she thinks that the TV was a gift. If we believe those things, then why should she have to pay him money just to shut up?
Oh, baloney.
Judy sides with large smoked sausages of beef, veal, or pork, thank you Merriam-Webster, and David, ruling in favor of the plaintiff for $600. Plus, Kathy has to return the TV to David within 5 days. Great, now how the hell is Kathy's new boyfriend going to watch a Super Bowl?
And your harassment case is baloney.
My
baloney.
the first name.
He just didn't turn out to be Mr. Wonderful, but that's fine.
Look, I've given David a hard time throughout much of this episode. Most of it unwarranted, most of it because of his job or my preconceived notions of his job. I don't know how much of it I really meant or how much of it was just stupid shtick. But I do know that David was a cruise director and that he was mostly pretty good at his job. How do I know the second part? CruiseCritic.com. Now, yes, there are some negative reviews of David, but many of them, the vast majority of them, are glowing, and I don't have any interest in smearing David any further. However, I did find this review funny. Not for how it reflects upon David, but for how it reflects upon people who leave reviews on CruiseCritic.com. Now, this review here about David is coming from Teacher OZ out of Dallas and is dated July 2nd, 2009. And I quote, "During the pool deck party at the end of the cruise, David was playing recorded music for dancing from his laptop. We requested some more Michael Jackson, and he stated that if we wanted more MJ, we should go to the Horizon Lounge. Odd, I thought, since David's laptop was right there in front of him, and I saw the file on the screen. All he had to do was click on the file to fulfill several guest requests." Now, as always, I'm going to reserve my judgment on Judy until the end of this episode. But Teacher OZ from Dallas, you're guilty. It's time to turn our attention to karaoke. And I say, it's about time. We've all been busy, living our lives, pretending that karaoke isn't even there. But it is there. It's there right in front of us, and it's watching us. And it's got the lyrics to prove it.
26-year-old student Danielle Riley says former live-in lover.
Live-in lover? That sounds like a code word for fear of commitment, right? Danielle is suing Desmond, saying he never paid her back for his karaoke equipment. If you can't trust your live-in lover named Desmond, who can you trust? Desmond is looking decidedly like a disciple of Criss Angel Mind Freak. I don't have anything further to add to that. Take what I said as you will.
Unquestionably a mind freak.
According to your complaint, you had a brief, unsuccessful live-in relationship with the defendant.
I wanna know what love is.
During their dalliance, Danielle loaned Desmond $2,500, or about $5,000 in today's money, if you trust the Bureau of Labor Statistics inflation calculator, which you probably shouldn't, considering the following quote from the Secretary of Labor. It's going to take some time, but again, when everybody's working for the American people and the American worker, and somebody chooses not to, and they're instrumental in those decisions that affect the market, that affect the wage growth, that affect all of those things, do your job. Or this quote from Lori, I am supportive of the president's agenda.
You loaned him $2,500 because he sort of wasn't doing much. And he wanted to start a karaoke business.
That's the kind of business know-how they don't teach in business school, I tell you what. Not long after Desmond bought the equipment, they broke up. Judy questions what made Danielle think that the karaoke idea made good business sense. Judy, no one goes into karaoke to make money. They do it because they like hearing people other than Freddie Mercury sing Bohemian Rhapsody.
We're not worthy.
He was cutting hair, making no money, doing pretty much nothing successful. He promised he'd pay me back. He was going to make this great life for us, and I trusted him.
And then, like Criss Angel himself, he made the $2,500 disappear.
A mind freak.
Desmond objects on two fronts. Not only was he making good money cutting hair, but he also never told her he would pay her back. Good money? Are we talking holiday hair money? Are we talking Supercuts money? Or are we talking sports clips money? Further, Desmond says that his karaoke business is still successful. What a sellout. Judy wants to hear more about the karaoke game, and I wonder if in a different universe, Judge Judy became a Shark Tank-like show, where she invested in the businesses of those who came seeking justice in her court. She would still determine who should pay who's at fault, blah, 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 blah. But there'd also kind of be this lightning round where the plaintiff or defendant would get to pitch the business that they got money from their short-term ex-live-in lover to start. You could call it profitable cause. I now own the rights to any show taking this form, patent pending, patent pending.
Right now I do a Friday and Saturday night show. It's Thunder Bowling, where we have lights and DJ'd music at a bowling alley. I make good money at it. I work 2 nights a week, and that's all I work right now.
I'm going to try to guess what a guy from, I don't know where, maybe somewhere in the Mid-Atlantic, how much he got for 2 nights a week of Thunder Bowling karaoke. $120? Is that too much for 1999?
How much do you make every night?
$56.75 an hour.
And how many hours do you work?
Usually about 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours a night.
So you make $150 a night.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should give up what I'm doing. Go back to 1999 and take Danielle's money and start a Thunder Karaoke Bowling light show of my own. Danielle and Desmond broke up about 9 months after she gave him the $2,500. Just enough time for him to give birth to his genius business idea. I wonder if he got a C-section.
How long did you actually live together?
Desmond has to defer to Danielle because he doesn't know. Better yet, he doesn't know smugly. Like knowing is beneath him. Like when you're making $1,200 max a month working only twice a week, you don't have to know things. Danielle informs us they'd also been dating for about 9 months. I'm a little confused as to if this means that she gave him the money right away, right after they started living together, because giving someone $2,500 to start a karaoke business is quite the way to kick things off with your live-in lover. Judy asks Desmond why he doesn't feel any moral obligation to pay Danielle back, given that her money enabled him to start his lucrative $150 a night, 2-night-a-week gig that some would call the WeWork of 1999.
The reason I don't feel that I should pay her back is because she never said it was a loan. I never agreed to pay her back.
I'm going to bet that for master wizards like Desmond, human morals fall pretty low on the priority scale.
A mind freak.
Now, for the first time here, I'm seeing the Chiron below our defendant, and his name is not Desmond, D-E-S-M-O-N-D, but Desmond Paul, no space, DeazmonDpaul, again, no space, which convinces me that he is, in fact, a practitioner of the dark arts.
A mind freak. I worked for Troy Boy McVicker, doing shows.
Troy Boy McVicker, the goy toy who's never been quicker? Troy Boy McVicker, the soy roy that's sicker than sicker? Troy Boy McVicker, the coy joy who wears thicker slippers? Desmond Paul brings up Troy Boy not to annoy or destroy, not even to enjoy, but to say that at the time he got the money, he was using someone else's equipment, Troy Boy's. But he was ready to strike out on his own and blaze new trails, using someone else's money that he didn't intend to pay back.
I happened to mention that Troy Boy said he could get a system for me for $5,000.
So that was his ploy. He deployed Troy Boy as a decoy. He's the real McCoy.
Okay, he had talked with Andy Dodd, the gentleman he bought the equipment from. And
Andy Dodd. The Sandy Rod? The Randy God? Desmond Paul conveniently forgets where things went from there, but Danielle remembers most of the details. Desmond Paul would pay the first half of the cashier's check and then follow up with monthly payments of $100 to $150 a month until the rest was paid off. All of this to the Andy Dodd person.
he approached me and said, will you loan me the $2,500? I said, yes. Okay.
Judy declares that this is an easy case, clearly because she didn't have to come up with a dozen words that rhyme with Troy.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Desmond Paul, it should be noted, brought a ton of evidence with him, but, well, I guess he couldn't pull a rabbit out of his hat this time.
She ripped on nipple rings that I have and, in front of a bar full of people, and I've got witnesses.
Desmond Paul proves that getting the last laugh sometimes means that everybody's laughing at you. It's time for that part of the show that the press is calling the most important part of the show, and the part of the show that's most important. It's time for me to judge Judy. As always, I abide by a loose set of criteria to determine guilt or innocence. Here's what I'll say right off the bat. If it were about Judy's decisions, I'd say she did her job, that she's innocent. I agree with her ruling in the second case, and while I'm on the fence about her ruling in the first case, I can at least follow her logic. If this were about the entertainment factor, then Judy did her job, then she'd be innocent. She showboated in all the ways that the people demand. The eye rolling, the yelling, the debasement. Case 1 ran a little bit long, and David's tape recording was excruciating, but she made up for it with an entertaining and swift second case. So then she's innocent, right? I mean, the first two, she's innocent. She did her job. Of course not. She's guilty. Judy treated Kathy like garbage. There was nothing fair or just about the way she acted. From the get-go, she seemed to have it out for Kathy, and in any number of ways. Her tone, the fact that she wouldn't acknowledge Kathy's past abusive relationship, the obligatory huffing and puffing all the time. Nothing David said was second-guessed. Everything he said was taken at face value. Nothing Kathy said was taken at face value. Everything Kathy said was second-guessed. Judy was convinced from the beginning that Kathy was a gold digger, and she might have been, but we never got to hear a fair accounting of her story, of her side of things. David was a saint who could do no wrong, and Kathy was the devil incarnate. Maybe Judy really did need to impart upon Kathy the importance of morals and niceness, but maybe if Judy had heard her out, Kathy would have shown she wasn't a monster. For those reasons, today, Judy's guilty. That sound is the sound that means it's Hangman time. Now Hangman, on this show, it's evolved. I've changed the rules once already and I'm changing them again. From now on, if I win, anything will go on forever, for all eternity. That thing could be a person, it could be an idea, an action, whatever. And if I lose, it ends. It's over, it will never be again. Why the change? Well, look, I wanted stakes. I wanted high stakes, and then I realized that maybe I made the stakes a little bit too high, so I dialed it back. Basically, I don't want to be responsible for condemning anyone that people like to hell forever. Okay? Now, as always, I'm using hangmanwords.com, and today I'm using their geography list. They give me 6 chances to be wrong, 6 incorrect letters until the game is over. And today, the thing that's kind of on the gallows today is returning your shopping cart back to the little shopping cart return area. So if I win, people will have to continue, or for the first time, be decent human beings and return their shopping carts. If I lose, they can be the scumbags they've always desired to be and leave their shopping carts wherever they want, even if there's a cart return area right in front of them. Which is to say that these are big stakes. This is a big deal. So let me navigate here to hangmanwords.com, geography list. And this might be a little bit too easy. I might have to do difficult ones in the future because this is only 5 letters. So I should be able to win this, but let's see. I'm gonna guess S. There's no S, so I only get 5 more incorrect guesses and we've got a head here. I'm gonna guess A. There are 2 A's, blank blank A, blank A. Okay, remember on the geography list. I'm gonna guess P, as in peanut butter and peanuts. Okay, there's a body, so there's no P. I have 4 more incorrect guesses. What about G, as in G Willikers? Okay, left leg, so I only have 3 more incorrect guesses. Let's go with a maybe more common letter, an R. Right leg, so I only have 2 incorrect guesses. Wow, I guess I was a little bit too confident here. Blank blank A, blank A. Geography. Oh, L. Oh, another wrong one. All right, this is a little dicey here. So I only get 1 more incorrect guess, and they're offering me a hint, and I'm not going to take the hint. Not going to do it. Not for this. It's too important to cheat or anything. N. Oh, I was wrong. It was Dhaka, which is the capital of Bangladesh. So, all right. People don't have to return their shopping carts anymore. They get what they wanted. They get their wish. They can be evil and inconsiderate and rude, and we're just going to have shopping carts everywhere. Great. And now, our very last segment, an out-of-context quote from Judge Judy. The federal government has a legitimate right, in my view, to get involved with ensuring that people, whether they're men, women, or black, or white, or gay, or straight, have certain basic civil rights, period. That's it. Thank you for listening. Remember to share, like, and fornicate, and for God's sakes, don't watch the Super Bowl on my TV with your new boyfriend.